Many believe that the town's name was coined by a land surveyor who, at the end of the day, reported he had gotten as far as some man's field. According to local legend, references continued to be made to the man's field until the name eventually stuck. A story more likely, however, gives the name in honor of the distinguished jurist William W. Mansfield, who served on the Arkansas Supreme Court. Join us as we dive into the rise of Mansfield, Arkansas. Now that we've got the name settled, we have to talk about the spine of this town. You're looking at the old Rock Island line. For decades, this wasn't a road. It was a heavy metal highway. Moving through here at ground level, you realize just how much the railroad dictated the flow of this entire landscape. I'm actually driving on the old rail bed right now. This is the steel that gave Mansfield its muscle. If you follow this rail bed to its natural conclusion, it leads you right to the edge of the water. This is where the Rock Island crossed Coop Creek. These concrete supports are the bones of that bridge, still anchored in the creek bed near the old depots. They had to hold up thousands of tons of freight every day. Standing here at the edge, you can see how the steel of the tracks met the survival of the terrain. The road goes around them, but the history is still standing. And just off to the side, where the track would have met the bank, we find these brick remains. Being this close to the creek and the depots, it's a high probability spot for a pump house or a utility shack, or maybe it could be the remains of the old Frisco depot. It's another piece of the Mansfield puzzle, tucked away exactly where the rail bed meets the ruins. To understand how this town survived the transition from the wild frontier to an industrial powerhouse, you have to look at the source. We followed the creek back to Mansfield Lake and the Coop Creek Dam. This wasn't just a scenic spot for the locals. This was a critical piece of infrastructure. The steam engines needed a massive, reliable water supply to keep the steel moving. But look closer at these banks. That's raw Arkansas clay. This isn't just dirt. It's the DNA of the town. This is the very material that was pulled from the ground and fired to create the bricks for the buildings we see downtown today. It's a perfect loop. The water provided the power and the earth provided the shelter. Keep your eyes on the background as we enter town. We're coming in from the west on 96. And then we're going to loop around and hit the north entrance on 71. There's a subtle glitch in the matrix hidden in plain sight during these transitions. Most people drive right past it every day, but if you're a discovery enthusiast, you might spot the discrepancy. I'm not going to point it out. I want to see who's really paying attention. If you see it, drop a clue in the comments. We'll talk about it in part 3. While you're hunting for that glitch, let's get back to the basics. These bricks, remember that raw clay we saw back at the lake? This is the final form. This is where the steam and the survival eras literally overlap. These walls were pulled from the ground they stand on, fired in local kilns, and stacked to create a town that was meant to last. You can see the history in the grit of the mud. This isn't just a storefront, it's a piece of the Arkansas earth. But these brick walls weren't just about looking permanent. They were about a specific kind of survival. While many frontier towns were built fast and loose with wood, Mansfield chose the earth. Building with brick wasn't just an aesthetic choice, it was an insurance policy. And speaking of survival, look at the Dixie. This place has seen it all. It didn't start as a theater. It started as a car dealership during the height of the steel boom. It's a masterclass in shifting with the times. Little is known about the history of the Dixie Theater. The building was likely built sometime in the 19th century. It was originally believed to be the Hickerson Ford dealership, then later a Dodge auto agency. It was converted into a movie theater around World War II. To understand how this town really dug in, you have to look at the engines of the economy. We're looking at archival gold here. First, the gas well. And this isn't just any well. According to history, this was the first gas well in the entire state of Arkansas. That's the steam before the steam, the raw energy that put Mansfield on the industrial map before the rest of the state even caught up. Then you have the old flour mill and the bank of Mansfield. These were the pillars. The mill turned the local harvest into food and freight for the steel rails, and the bank kept the boom moving. These photos are the receipts of a town that didn't just exist, it led the way. Notice the activity in these shots. The freight, the movement, the sheer scale of it. It's a far cry from the quiet ruins we found down by the creek earlier. This photo captures the peak of that era, right before the world started moving away from the tracks and onto the highways. Now look at this. This is the Rock Island Depot back in the 1950s. You can see the heavy-duty construction. It wasn't just a building. It was the nerve center where the steel of the rails met the survival of the people. But if you look closely at the sign above the door in that old photo, you'll see something familiar. That piece of history didn't vanish when the last train left. It was salvaged. It moved from the tracks of the Rock Island to the heart of the modern town. Today, that very same sign hangs above the door of the Mansfield City Hall. It's the literal anchor connecting the industrial powerhouse of the past to the community we see today. We found the source, the steel, and the survival. But as we transition into the modern day, there's a discrepancy that hasn't been answered yet. If you caught that glitch during our drive-in, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Drop your theories in the comments. I'm F4, and the best is yet to find. We're going to reveal that anomaly and explore the modern secrets and sights of Mansfield in video 3.